biggest challenge I overcame was probably my own, worry about making sure that I could honor the mythology, Superman mythology, because it's such a big deal, and it's a big deal to me. It was just making sure that when you walked out of the movie, you're like, man, that was a Superman movie I just saw.
I'm gonna stop Zack Snyder there, because what Zack Snyder created for Man of Steel is half an idea. Man of Steel is based in with mythology that explores his life as a young child all the way up to adulthood, but my problem with Superman is how the movie decides to execute those ideas. The film tries to explore big themes throughout the movie: what makes us human, who decides our fate, and what is our destiny, but the movie never explains and never expands on those questions. For Clark Kent and the audience to connect, we are shown flashbacks to his life. This way we are with Clark throughout his journey, from the moment he couldn't understand how to use his power to the death of General Zod. Snyder understood we have to emotionally feel connected to him, but we fail to see him struggle. In every flashback we see Clark as a hero. He's always doing something courageous, in turn we like him, but can't connect with him. Only twice do we see Clark struggle, but I'll discuss that later. When we compare Man of Steel to Batman Begins, we can pinpoint where Superman fails to connect with audience members and how Batman built its connection. Let's watch similar scenes from both movies.
To do what is necessary, I won't kill you. But I don't have to save you.
Now let me ask, which one was more satisfying? Understandably, many people will have different answers, but I'm going to say a majority of you decided with Batman. And why is that? During Batman Begins, we are, just like in Man of Steel, following Bruce's journey through flashbacks. But the difference between Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne is Bruce is countlessly learning throughout his journey. From the death of his parents right up to the dawning of his cow, Batman makes mistakes and grows from them. This helps us connect with him, as both are not easy to relate with. We're not all billionaire playboys or aliens from another planet. So to see Bruce, this bigger than life man, fail countless times makes him more relatable, because we've all failed before, and to see him struggle and fight for what he deems right is admirable. Compare that to Clark Kent. His struggles are bigger than life. As a child he can't use his powers because he'll be looked at differently. He's not scared to lift a bus to safety, he doesn't punch the bully's face, and he's never at fault, just never truly fails. With Bruce Wayne, he has a plethora of failures that guide his views and builds his character, and in return we want him to succeed. And that moment when he says,
I'm Batman,
is rewarding, because we have seen him fight and struggle and learn and mould as a person before we've even seen him put on that costume. That hardship Bruce went through is the reason why this scene is satisfying, because before Batman chooses not to save Ra's al Ghul, he learns about the difference between killing out pure hate and killing for the greater good. His attempt to kill Joe Chill is a failure that he learns from. This act builds on his viewpoint that killing mercilessly is the same as what that man did to his parents. But Superman never gets a moment like that, which in turn makes this scene not as satisfying, because he never truly earns that right. He is thrusted into situations where the outcome doesn't change his viewpoint. So when he does snap Zod's neck, it's confusion as to why he yells in agony. We all understand that he killed Zod to protect the family, but why yell with agony? In fact, why save that family? Why save anyone? Superman, why are you even saving Earth? The film asked what does it mean to be human, but Superman flip-flops from pro-human to wanting to learn everything about his own planet to pro-human again to no questions asked wearing a Krypton suit in minutes. Never do we fully understand his standpoint. Jonathan Kent and Jor-El both have very different views on what Clark needs to be. These views are separated by a human perspective: the human race isn't ready to see your powers, and an alien's perspective: you will be a god. The film hammers home how important these father figures are to Clark, and both significantly try and guide his views. But in the end, Superman was always a child that was good. He never did things out of malice hate. Even when his acts were out of character, it was for a greater good. This hampers the film's thematic link between Superman and Jesus. The biblical figure suffered great pain before his resurrection, but with Superman, his resurrection is never preceded with a great pain. For Superman, there isn't any internal conflict. His struggle about learning he's from another world is short and doesn't hold the weight it needs, because he then seeks this world. It seems Zack Snyder and his team couldn't find a way to integrate a coherent belief system, and instead tried to hit every point. Ultimately, this makes Superman transparent. This scene shows Superman fighting against the odds and fight back against the evil, but never before this scene is there a moment where all is lost for Superman. Now, nowhere in Man of Steel is Superman at his lowest, yet this scene plays out like he is. This is the fundamental flaw with Man of Steel. So, some of you might say that Superman's biggest fail is letting Jonathan Kent die. I agree he lost someone important to him, but this scene doesn't add anything to Superman. Jonathan Kent tells Clark to not use his powers and he doesn't. So does Clark agree with Jonathan Kent? Yet Clark continues to save people and eventually turns into the hero we all know. I don't see this scene as character building for Superman, I see it as character development for Pa Kent. His belief that the world wasn't ready for his son was deep inside of him, that he was willing to die so that his son could live a normal life. It was a humble death, a death any parent would make, and my respect for Pa Kent skyrocketed. But for Clark, my feelings stayed the same. When Uncle Ben died, Peter understood that he had to use the powers he was given to save ordinary people just like him. When Bruce's parents were shot in the alley, he understood that the world was full of crime and wanted to build a safe place for the people of Gotham. When Jonathan Kent died, Clark went looking for his old life. We all know Superman's strength is unparalleled, but the idea that even for Superman, I know a child, but still Superman finds the world too big, is this film's greatest idea. I've never seen Superman this vulnerable. He's scared, small, and alone. It's a brilliant moment for Clark because it's a moment that builds on his character. However, the film resolves this idea far too quickly and it doesn't show up again until Zod experiences the same effects later on. This scene should have been on the same level as
Bruce. And why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
from Batman Begins. It is a moment imprinted in Bruce's mind and carries over to The Dark Knight Rises. It really sums up this film's eagerness to make Superman look cool by making these personal scenes second fiddle to the action set pieces. This is what I mean by saying Man of Steel is half ideas. The film doesn't commit to what it establishes in favour of making Superman relevant. The action sequences are over the top. After the machine is destroyed, Zod and Superman don't need to be crashing through buildings. A nice hand-to-hand combat would have been sufficient and generally what we needed to digest the calamity that just happened. We can't mourn the people who died or take in the destruction because we are forced into another big devastation. The film and Superman are in tandem of how confused and muddled they are. Superman is a character we like but not someone we relate to. In the end, Man of Steel and Superman is unfocused because if it went in the right direction, we really could have been looking at a masterpiece.